We are live, 7:30 in the East. This is the Springsteen Report with Phisherman, the bootlegger who pays the highest price. And that's me. And got a little bit to talk about tonight. Not a lot. Probably get to it all in about 5 minutes time. And as soon as I hear my own voice, so I know that my audio is working. Yeah, there it is. All right. See, there's a delay. I don't have a producer to tell me that this is working. Maddie in the chat, good to see you. First thing up right away is I want to talk about the set list from this week. And there are a few set lists. And if I could just remember how to do this, you got to put that on Wiki, Bruce Space Wiki, and then I need to share my screen and select the wiki pages. And there we go. You should be able to see my wiki page. And a week ago today, Bruce was spotted at the Steve Earle concert in Birmingham, England. And Steve Earle treated him to a Nebraska rendition. No sign of Bruce on stage, but Steve Earle played Nebraska for having Bruce in the audience. And then it was on to, this thing is covering up the top of my screen. It was on to Belgium, and this was a festival, the TW Classic Festival, and what they got was the TW Classic set list. No Surrender, Ghost, Prove It, Promised Land, Out in the Street, Cancer and Kitty's Back, Night Shift, Mary's Place, East Street Shuffle, My Hometown, and The River seems to be becoming a staple. And so My Hometown and The River seems like since the first day they played The River, I think My Hometown, The River has been there every night since. And then fairly standard going throughout the rest, the European, Born in the USA, Bobby Jean, Encore, Still No Sign of Rosie. In Europe, that was the festival, 27 songs, full show, even though it was a festival with multiple bands on the bill. And then we are off to Germany. And I think things were serious in Germany. Land of Hope and Dreams, Ties That Bind, and Price You Pay, all sound checked. I want a ticket to the sound checks. All sound checked. Land of Hope and Dreams, Ties That Bind, Price You Pay, and Ties That Bind makes it into the set as the opener. So there's your tour debut opening song. My Hometown, River stays, and the rest of the show pretty much the same. Now, I didn't have time tonight, but I want to put up like a set list from like early February from like one of the Florida shows or Georgia, next to some of these shows that are going on now, for all the people who say the set list hasn't changed, because it has really changed a great deal. But as far as changed from yesterday, from the festival, Ties That Bind was new. Nothing else special except that sound check. Price You Pay. Right? All right. And then today, not even I wasn't even sure if the show was over yet today. But Land, Hope, and Dreams again sound checked, and Racing in the Street, and Lucky Town and Better Days. And Better Days, I think, would be a tour premiere. Lucky Town has been played at least once. But again, I want a ticket to the sound check. Open again with Ties That Bind. And Candy's Room is out. And now it's Lucky Town, Kitty's back. And Land of Hope and Dreams in before Thunder Road after Badlands. And show just continues to change, continues to morph. That was today. 2 more in this stadium here in Ullevi, Sweden, Gothenburg, Sweden. Ullevi Stadium, Gothenburg, Sweden. 2 more shows coming up here. And we'll be around to talk about them. Joseph, good to see you. Tom, good to see you. Tonight, the reason we're all here, we're going to watch June 24th, 1993. And if June 24th sounds familiar, that's because today is June 24th. This is the 30th anniversary of this show. And 30 years ago tonight, I was in Michigan getting ready to drive to New York because I was leaving 2 days later to drive overnight to New York City, where I had a friend living in Brooklyn, and tickets to go to see Bruce at Madison Square Garden for the Kristen Ann Carr first ever tribute concert. And it was to start a fund for Barbara Ann Carr and Dave Marsh's, I guess it's Dave Marsh's stepdaughter, but Barbara Ann Carr's daughter, Kristen, who had just recently died from, I believe, leukemia, or at least an aggressive form of cancer. And she was young. This is 30 years ago. And they put on a concert. Bruce put on a concert to start her fund, which that fund is still around. Bruce still plays events to help fill the coffers for it too. And I went to that show at Madison Square Garden. And of course, everybody knows that that's the famous Terrence Trent D'Arby show. And I saw that and not the Steve Van Zandt, Southside Johnny, Clarence Clemens show. But if we have time, and I'm sure we're going to have time because I didn't really plan on talking about much today, I'll tell you my story about the Kristen Ann Carr show and the Man in Black, because I don't have a story about the Concert for Hunger, and we're probably not going to watch the Kristen Ann Carr show because there is a video, but it doesn't have the best audio. And tonight's show has the best. When do you see tonight's video? If you've never seen it before, I've shown it before, like twice. If you've never seen it before, you're going to be really surprised for that 1993 video looks this good. It looks a lot better than that 88 that we love to watch, that 88 Tunnel LA show where at the set break, the guy pans to show that he's sitting right in front of Dustin Hoffman. That's a great video, but this video is better. It's like sharper. If you saw, I put a clip up on YouTube, it's still there, of Steve and Southside Johnny and Bruce, and I blank on what they played every single time. They played it's been a long time. It's been a long time since we've told. Yeah, that's the one. Anyway, phenomenal. We're gonna see that tonight, and this show is 3 hours and 40 some odd minutes. It's a long one. We're going to be here late, and it's worth every minute of it. 30 years back, the 92-93 band with special appearances by Steve and Southside Johnny and Clarence Clemens. 22 minutes left. So I guess here's the story. I drove to New York. I'd already heard, I mean, there was no internet. At least maybe by the time I got to the show, I heard that Clarence had been there and that Steve had been there. I don't know if Southside Johnny was even on my radar in 1993, but I heard that Steve was there, and I heard that Clarence was there, and I was going to that show in Madison Square Garden, and we had literally the last row of the furthest section all the way directly upper bowl across the stage, and I got him from a broker. It was a tough ticket. He only played 2 U.S. shows in 1993, the one we're watching tonight and that Madison Square Garden show. So I had a friend who lived in Brooklyn, and I left the day before the show late in the afternoon. It's a 12-hour drive, and I drove as far as I could, and then I slept, and I drove the rest of the way the next day. And I got to New York, and when I got there, it was already, getting close to supper time, shows at 7:30. I went to Brooklyn. I parked in front of my friend's house in Brooklyn, free parking. And then we're going to take the subway to Madison Square Garden. So I see my friend, he's a friend from high school. I graduated in 86, saw him for a couple of years after that, when he was going to college and I was sticking around the neighborhood. And then, once in a while, phone call, no internet, once in a blue moon phone calls, and hey, I'm coming to see Bruce. Want to get together? I'll stay at your house. We'll go see Bruce. So I hadn't seen him in a long time. I get there and I'm like, hey, let's go. let's head over to Madison Square Garden. Let's get there early for the show. He says at 5:30, I got to watch Star Trek. I was like, what? Now, at 5:30, Star Trek comes on every day, and me and my roommate, we watch it every day. And I got to watch Star Trek. We'll leave right after that. So no problem. We take the subway, blah, blah, blah. We'll be there 6:45. Plenty of time, long before the show starts. I was like, I want to get down there. Man, I just drove for 14 hours. Don't tell me we're sitting here. Star Trek? The show you watched every day in high school? The show you have the VHS collection of the entire series from the Time Life library without commercials in stunning low-def quality? Well, we like to watch it at 5:30 when it's on, when you're watching it with the rest of New York, because it's syndicated. It's not like, anyway, gotta watch Star Trek. Not the Next Generation, not any of the newfangled Star Treks, not one of the movies, the original series from the 60s that he's seen every episode 45 times and knows by heart. He has to see it at 5:30 when it's on. I was like, tape it. I'm like, you have it on tape, but if you need it with the commercials, the local commercials for the sponsor, tape it. Watch it when you get home. No, we watch it. It was like a ritual with them. So I sit there while he watches fucking Star Trek. And then we leave. And of course, it takes longer to get there than he said. The traffic is terrible. There's people in the subway. It's a mess. We get there about the time he said. So that was fair. He got me there the time he said. We go in, we go to those seats in the very upper deck in the top row of the last section, as far from the stage as we can be. And the whole arena is packed. Every section is full. But our section, like the last 6 or 7 rows, all empty. Totally empty. Nobody in any of these seats but us. Looking around, I was like, where the hell is everybody? How could this entire 5 rows of people be empty? And a guy in like the row right in front of the empty seats turned around and said, oh, about 10 minutes ago, this guy came up and took everybody in those rows down front. That's my story about we watched that show from the upper in the empty section by ourselves because he had to see fucking Star Trek. He doesn't watch my show, so he'll never see this. But Jay, I'll never forget that you had to fucking watch Star Trek. Now the rule is you go see Bruce with me, no Star Trek for a week before the show. Fucking Star Trek. I'd say I don't understand obsession, but I guess I kind of do understand obsession. Mitch, good to see you. Franco, thanks for coming by. I appreciate it. 17 minutes with the Man in Black story. Lance, good to see you. Thanks for coming by. You guys know the story about that show, right? You know, everybody was thinking Claire's gonna be there again, Steve's gonna be there again, and he said special guest, and people went, oh, and then he said, and let me tell you something. I don't listen to that show that much, but I remember it. He said, this next person was Kristen's favorite artist. She was always trying to get me to listen to him, and he agreed to be here tonight and sing and play for her, wasn't a memorial, but for her benefit. And here he is, Terrence Trent D'Arby. And he came out, he played a song, and he started playing another song, and they started to boo. Not Bruce. And even if they started to Bruce, that would be like, enough Terrence, we want Bruce. But it was boo, New York, right? And Bruce, that pissed him off, man. He came back to the mic and he was like, I want to remind you that anyone that comes out on this stage is here as my guest. And he was turned off by the behavior. And wow, 2-3 nights before he played this 3-hour and 41-minute show we're about to watch, he cut that one short. It was like about 3 hours, I think. Maybe it might have been, I don't know. I'd have to look to know for sure, because you go by memories. I'd have to look at the tape. There's no nugs on that one. I don't think they're ever going to release that one. But But I was there that night, the Kristen Ann Carr show, when Terrence Trent D'Arby sang, and New York treated him like New York would be expected to treat people. Christopher Cole, thanks for coming. I appreciate you. It is 7:45, 7:45 in the East. This show's going to start in 15 minutes. I prepared nothing for tonight. I almost didn't go on. Fell asleep at like 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock Eastern, like for a nap. Woke up more tired than when I went to sleep. Didn't prepare anything. I was like, we'll talk about Concert for Hunger. I watched a little bit of this in kind of preparation, but I didn't have time. It's a long show, and we're watching it tonight. Tomorrow, I'm recording our podcast with Maddie and Tom. We will surely talk about it after we've had a chance to watch the whole show tonight. I think you get a great deal more out of the review of the show when you watch it than when you just listen to it. So if you want like a good follow-up to this show on its 30th anniversary, you're going to want to tune into the world's greatest Springsteen podcast. And the next episode that'll probably drop Tuesday or Wednesday. They've been dropping only on YouTube, which is great because you get video. But I think after this next episode that we're actually going to get onto the podcasting platforms. We're going to be legit. We're going to be on Apple Music and I don't know, all of them. I don't know how it works. I'm working on, I found out it's pretty easy. So I think we're going to be on all of them. And you're going to be able to listen to it. Not that I'm promising it's worth listening to. Maddie and Tom, they'll tell you it is. Me, I'm humble and modest, even though I spent a week bragging about that Penn State video. 14 minutes. I have nothing to talk about, people. What's going on in Bruce? Where he played a whole show today. Oh, ties it bind 2 nights in a row. See, now I'm getting excited about LA and Phoenix. And Sarah was in the chat last night talking about going to San Diego, which was just off my radar. I figured November 30th, fly to Phoenix, and then back to Vegas, and then December 4th, fly to LA, and then stay in LA for 3 nights, and then back to Vegas. And no San Diego. Now I'm thinking fly to November 30th, fly to Phoenix, and then December 1st, fly to San Diego, and then December 4th, fly to LA. I don't know about that. Ties that bind. What did you see? Some of those things that are in the soundtrack, man. If he starts breaking out Racing and Better Days and The Price You Pay, oh man, I might just be in San Diego. Might just be. Best pre-show yet. Thanks, Maddie. You are always so supportive. I greatly appreciate that. It's going to be a long 12 minutes, so I'm glad I had some good content in the first half of the show because I got nothing going on for the second half of the show. Seems to be a lot of talk lately about dates coming for 2024, and they don't seem to be David Sancious soul album dates. They seem to be E Street Band Europe dates for 2024. I haven't heard anything. I'm certain they're going to play Australia and New Zealand in February and or March or January, but I think in February. I'm certain of it, but not because I have any solid information. There's been no information, but I think that's coming. And they're talking about later, like summer for more Europe. I haven't heard anything about more US, but I'm up for more US. The set list has changed. People who say it hasn't, he's always played 2 years with a solid base of rehearsed portions. I mean, people talk about the reunion tour and how many different songs he played in the reunion tour still had like big chunks of songs that were played every single night. Mitch, are you from Australia? I didn't realize that. I think you're going to get an Australia show. I really do. I mean, more than one. I think he's going to do the tour of Australia that he's done in 2017, 2014, and 2013. He loves Australia. In February, they've all been in February because the weather in Jersey sucks and the weather in Australia is gorgeous. All the other acts announced for Australia summer, no Bruce yet. That's interesting. Is there availability, or are the venues all filled up? He doesn't need to announce that far in advance. He really, and I know in recent years he has announced far in advance. In the olden days, he would announce like 3 to 6 weeks in advance. You'd buy a ticket on our first sale day and you'd be seeing him 4 weeks later. I think they're coming, Mitch. They love that market. The thing that you got working against you is that the promoter from that part of the world died. I think during the pandemic, not from COVID that I know of, but during the pandemic passed away. And, you know, it's not saying that's going to end the chances. I think the tour is coming, but it could certainly change things. You're dealing with new people. You're dealing with new ideas. Coldplay. Are they coming to Australia? Is that what you're trying to say? Coldplay is coming to Australia? Didn't Bruce join Coldplay right before his tour started? That was pretty awesome, wasn't it? They played everybody's favorite, Working on a Dream. He's got it tattooed on his arm. The fan boards were just like, he's got Working on a Dream on his arm. Doesn't he read our board to know that's not a good song? Robert, it's good to see you. 9 minutes. You guys want to go grab some popcorn? I got nothing left to talk about. Tonight, from the Meadowlands, I don't know if it was CAA Arena or if it was, how many different names has there been for the arena? I know there's a new arena there now, but the one that was there before probably had 20 names before they tore it down. Let's see. Taylor Swift announced she will be expensive. She goes and blows everything I say about tickets. When I say you can go to a stadium show cheap, no matter who the act, I guess that doesn't count for Taylor Swift, that even the worst seat in the house 5 minutes before the show, they're looking for $600. I don't know how they're getting it, but they're getting it. I did a survey and only one person is looking forward to the Soul Cover tour, and he's hosting this show. You did a survey of you and me and maybe 2 other people, your brothers and your sister. I guess if you surveyed your family, that's like infinite number. That's a pretty big survey. That's a big sample if you just asked all your brothers and sisters. Hey, Aaron, Jeff, and Austin. I watched the replays a lot, but on live tonight, hope I helped a little with the VLC this morning. You did not. You did not help. I did find the original file. I found the original Blu-ray that MKV I was working with was made from, so I no longer needed to convert the MKV, but I never got it work. I never got the MKV converted and working properly. It was driving me crazy, and I was ready to break all my equipment. But I had the original Blu-ray all along. You know, when you get to 24 terabytes, sometimes it can be hard to find shit. And all of a sudden there it was the Blu-ray, and I popped that into Adobe Premiere, and it was gorgeous, and I never needed that MKV at all. I wish he would play Asia. He last played during Tom Jones. He needs to go back. Are you going to go see him in Asia? Or you just want to know that he's there? Because as far as I'm concerned, if he's not somewhere where I am, it doesn't matter where he is. It's all video anyway. I am not going to Europe, and I'm not going to Australia, and I'm not going to Asia. I'm probably not going to Canada. Although Canada, if I could get a passport before Canada, I could see that as a possibility because it's this continent. It's a short flight. But I don't have a passport. Chances are not going to Canada. 7 minutes. 7 minutes. We'll be headed over. We'll watch June 24th at the Meadowlands, June 24th, 93. With the 1992-93 band. You'll go to Asia, but not Ottawa, Tom. Tom, you know, he thinks everything he thinks about is women, and he probably loves Asian women, right? That's what this is all about, right? It's not about travel. If you really want to go to Asia, I wouldn't go to Asia. I would never get on a plane that long. Aaron, get that passport. You're way out in the East, man. I had my issues with the long flights this past February. You know, I'm going to Phoenix and I'm going to LA. Those are both 45-minute flights. Easy. Nothing to sweat about, nothing to have anxiety over. I don't have any problem taking off. I don't have any problem being in the air. Flying doesn't bother me. Being confined bothers me. I'm claustrophobic. The seats are too small. I can't do it for long periods of time. And if you go back and watch my show where I explain the issues that I had on my long flights, you'll know I can't do a 4-hour flight anymore. I don't know what's going on. Let's see. Not gonna badmouth the other podcast. I know there's more than one other podcast, but there's one that we refer to around here as the other podcast, and we're not going to badmouth them. I usually make a point of telling people that I do not listen to their show, but I did listen. I listened this week because they're talking about tonight's video, which I had loaded up almost a month ago. I don't know when they decided to review the show and talk about it and make it one of their shows. I know it kind of looks like we copied them, but I've had this loaded up. I had the preview up on my channel 2 weeks ago, and we've been planning this one for a long time. I wonder if that other podcast isn't peeking in once in a while to our show over here on YouTube. But yeah, I did listen to their talk. This is obviously they were both there while I was preparing to go to the Terrence Trent D'Arby show back in Michigan. They were at this show with Clarence and Southside Johnny and Stevie, and good for them. They enjoyed it, and I listened to their review of it, and I thought it was all right. Nothing wrong with it. I'm not going to criticize them or complain about them. I was going to make it through the show without bringing them up, but got brought up in the chat. So we are watching that show tonight. If you haven't heard their latest episode, they spent the whole hour talking about the show that we are about to watch. They both listened to it. Neither one of them called me up and said, hey, can we check out that video in advance so that we can do a proper podcast? All right, guys. It is you just want me to fight with people, huh? Eddie, deep Eddie Vaca. Oh, it's Jeff in Austin, who also goes by Deep Eddie Vaca. He wants me to fight with people. I stopped using SPL because Oat said to me, apologize or be banned. And I didn't feel it warranted an apology. I don't think he's banned me. I still get email. I just never went back. I'm not going to apologize for what I said. It is 3 minutes to 8, and we are going to watch June 24th, 1993, the second to last show with this band. I'm pretty sure Kristen Ann Carr was the last show that this band ever played. I think the Europe shows were all prior to this. I'm not positive. I get this shit wrong all the time. The other podcast, they're way better at getting shit right. My show is more about enthusiasm than accurate information. I'm the first one willing to admit that. It is 2 minutes to 5. I'm going to head over, get ready for the show, and I'll see you in the chat.